What if the things many women want most from a man aren't the things men are usually told to focus on? It isn't always money, perfect looks, impressive status, or knowing exactly what to say. Sometimes, the qualities that create the strongest attraction are much quieter. They appear in the way a man listens, handles pressure, communicates, sets boundaries, and makes a woman feel when she's around him. And here's the interesting part: many of these qualities aren't really secrets at all. They are human needs expressed through romantic relationships. But because attraction is often discussed through games, tricks, and surface-level advice, people overlook what actually creates emotional connection. Of course, not every woman wants the same thing. Personality, age, experiences, culture, attachment style, values, and relationship goals all influence what someone finds attractive. But there are patterns that often appear when people describe a healthy and satisfying romantic connection. Imagine a woman meeting a man who is extremely attractive. He knows how to flirt. He's confident. He knows how to make an entrance. At first, she notices him immediately. But then they start talking. He constantly interrupts her. He doesn't remember anything she says. He becomes defensive whenever she disagrees. He needs constant validation. He treats other people disrespectfully. The attraction may disappear quickly. Now imagine another man who isn't trying desperately to impress her. He is confident, but relaxed. He listens when she speaks. He has his own goals. He can laugh at himself. He communicates directly. And when she says no to something, he respects it without becoming cold or resentful. Suddenly, something different happens. She may feel comfortable being herself around him. And that brings us to something many women value deeply: emotional safety. Emotional safety doesn't mean being boring, passive, or endlessly agreeable. It means a woman can express herself without constantly worrying that she'll be mocked, manipulated, punished, or dismissed. Think about a simple conversation. She tells you about a difficult day at work. One man immediately gives advice. "You should have done this. Why didn't you just say that?" Another man says, "That sounds frustrating. What happened?" The second response may seem incredibly simple, but there's a difference. He's giving her space to be heard before trying to solve the problem. That doesn't mean women never want solutions. Sometimes they absolutely do. The important part is understanding what the moment requires. Listening isn't about agreeing with everything someone says. It's about making an effort to understand before reacting. And when a woman repeatedly experiences that kind of emotional safety with a man, she may become more comfortable showing parts of herself that aren't visible on a first date. Her insecurities, her ambitions, her fears, her humor, her strange little habits, her vulnerability. And when someone feels safe enough to be fully themselves, emotional intimacy has room to develop. But there's another quality that can be even more attractive than constant reassurance: emotional stability. Imagine a man who is wonderful when everything goes his way. He's charming when she's affectionate. He's confident when she responds quickly. He's relaxed when she agrees with him. But the moment she becomes busy or disagrees with him, everything changes. He becomes angry. He sends multiple messages. He assumes she's losing interest. He demands explanations. He threatens to walk away. That isn't emotional strength. A mature man can experience disappointment without allowing it to control his behavior. He can think, "I don't like this situation, but I can handle it." That ability matters. Because relationships inevitably contain uncertainty. People have bad days. Messages get misunderstood. Plans change. Partners disagree. Sometimes one person needs space. Emotional stability doesn't mean never feeling jealous, hurt, or insecure. It means knowing how to experience those emotions without immediately turning them into destructive behavior. And here's where things get interesting. A woman doesn't necessarily want a man who never needs reassurance. She may simply want a man who can communicate his needs without making her responsible for his entire emotional state. There's a huge difference between saying, "I felt hurt when that happened. Can we talk about it?" and saying, "If you really cared about me, you would never do that." One invites communication. The other creates guilt. Healthy attraction needs room for both people to have emotions without turning every emotion into a weapon. Now consider something else women often appreciate: genuine confidence. Not arrogance. Not dominance. Not pretending you don't care. Real confidence is quieter. You know what you value. You can express an opinion. You can make decisions. You can accept disagreement. You don't need everyone to approve of you. And you don't collapse when someone rejects you. Imagine you're interested in a woman and ask her out. She says she's not interested. A man with fragile confidence might become bitter. You're going to regret it. You're not even that attractive. Why did you waste my time? A confident man can simply say, "No worries. I appreciate you being honest." That response doesn't guarantee that she'll suddenly become attracted to him. That's not the point. The point is that his self-worth isn't dependent on getting the answer he wanted. He knows rejection is painful sometimes, but it doesn't define him. That kind of internal stability can make dating healthier because you're not constantly trying to control the other person's response. You are allowing them to choose. And that leads to another thing many women want from a man: clear communication. Mixed signals can be exhausting. Imagine a man who acts extremely interested one day and completely distant the next. He flirts heavily, then disappears. He talks about a future together, then avoids defining the relationship. He says he cares, but his actions repeatedly contradict his words. Eventually, the woman may stop wondering, "Does he like me?" and start wondering, "Can I trust what he says?" That's a much more serious question. Clear communication doesn't mean revealing every thought immediately. It means being honest about important things. If you want to see her, ask. If you're interested in a relationship, communicate that. If you don't want commitment, don't pretend you do just to keep her around. If something bothers you, discuss it instead of expecting her to read your mind. Clarity creates stability. And stability can make emotional connection much easier. But don't confuse clear communication with constant communication. You don't need to message someone every 5 minutes to prove interest. Healthy connection leaves room for both people to have lives outside the relationship. Which brings us to something incredibly important: independence. Many women are attracted to men who have a life of their own. Not because they want someone emotionally unavailable. Because independence suggests that the relationship is a choice rather than a desperate necessity. Imagine a man whose entire world revolves around one woman. He stops seeing friends. He abandons his interests. He waits all day for her messages. He becomes upset whenever she spends time with someone else. Eventually, the relationship carries too much emotional pressure. Now imagine a man who genuinely enjoys being with her, but also has his own ambitions. He works toward goals. He maintains friendships. He exercises. He develops interests. He enjoys time alone. When they're together, he is present. When they're apart, he continues living. That's healthier. And it creates an important psychological difference. He isn't saying, "I don't need you because I don't care." He's communicating, through his behavior, "I value you, but I haven't abandoned myself." That's a powerful foundation for a relationship. There's another detail many people overlook: boundaries. A woman doesn't necessarily want a man who says yes to everything. If you're always afraid of disappointing someone, you may eventually become resentful. Healthy boundaries allow you to remain honest. You can say, "I can't do that tonight." You can say, "That doesn't work for me." You can say, "I need some time to think." You can disagree without becoming disrespectful. And you can accept her boundaries too. This is important because attraction without respect can quickly become unhealthy. If she says she doesn't want something, you don't pressure her. If she needs space, you don't punish her. If she has different values, you don't try to force her into yours. Boundaries aren't walls designed to keep people out. They're information about how two people can interact respectfully. And when both people can communicate boundaries without fear, trust grows. But here's where the psychology becomes even more interesting. Many women don't simply want a man who makes them feel desired. They want to feel seen. There's a difference. Being desired can feel exciting. Being seen can feel deeply personal. Imagine she tells you that she has always wanted to start her own business. Months later, you remember. You ask how it's going. You remember the name she mentioned. You encourage her when she doubts herself. You're not doing it because you expect something in return. You simply paid attention. That tells her something powerful. I matter enough for him to remember. And being remembered can create emotional closeness. This is why small details can sometimes matter more than grand gestures. A man might buy an expensive gift and forget an important conversation. Another man might remember the small thing she told him weeks ago. The second behavior can communicate genuine attention. And genuine attention is one of the foundations of intimacy. Now, that doesn't mean you need to memorize everything she says. Nobody can do that. It means you should actually listen instead of waiting for your turn to speak. Ask follow-up questions. Notice what matters to her. Learn how she thinks. Be curious about her as a person rather than treating her like a prize you need to win. And this leads naturally to another quality, respect for her individuality. A healthy woman isn't looking to become someone's possession. She has her own personality, her own friendships, her own ambitions, her own opinions, her own identity. A strong relationship doesn't erase those things. It creates space for both people to grow. Imagine a woman wants to spend an evening with her friends. A controlling partner might say, "Why do you need them when you have me?" A secure partner can say, "Have a good time. I'll see you later." That doesn't mean he doesn't care. It means he understands that love and control are not the same thing. The healthier the relationship, the more freedom both people can have to remain themselves. And that freedom can actually strengthen connection. Because when someone chooses to be with you while knowing they are free to leave, the relationship becomes a choice rather than an obligation. Now think about another quality that can make a major difference: consistency. Anyone can be charming for a few hours. Anyone can send romantic messages. Anyone can say the right things on a first date. The real test is what happens over time. Does his behavior match his words? Does he keep reasonable promises? Does he communicate when plans change? Does he show up when life becomes inconvenient? Does he treat people with respect even when there is nothing to gain? Consistency creates predictability. And predictability can create trust. A woman may not need a man to be perfect. She may simply want to know that the person she sees today isn't going to become completely different tomorrow. This is particularly important when emotions become stronger. Because attraction can make people behave differently at first. Everyone is on their best behavior. But relationships eventually reveal character. And character becomes more important than charm. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: the ability to repair conflict. Every couple disagrees. The question isn't whether conflict happens. The question is what happens afterward. Imagine a man realizes he said something hurtful. He could become defensive. "I was just joking. You're too sensitive. You misunderstood me." Or he could say, "I can see why that hurt you. I shouldn't have said it that way." That doesn't mean he must accept blame for everything. It means he can take responsibility when responsibility is appropriate. A sincere apology isn't weakness. It's accountability. And a woman who sees that a man can admit mistakes without collapsing into shame or attacking someone else may feel safer communicating with him. Because she knows conflict doesn't automatically mean war. It can become an opportunity to understand each other. But there's one more thing that often matters more than all the techniques in the world: authenticity. If you're constantly performing the version of yourself you think women want, you're creating a relationship with an image. Eventually, the performance becomes exhausting. You don't need to pretend to be mysterious if you're naturally open. You don't need to act dominant if you're naturally calm. You don't need to pretend you're uninterested when you genuinely care. You don't need to follow artificial dating rules that tell you exactly how long to wait before replying. Be honest. Be respectful. Be confident enough to show interest. And be secure enough to accept that not everyone will respond the way you want. That's the foundation of genuine attraction. And here's the surprising part. The more you stop trying to become universally attractive, the easier it becomes to become attractive to the right person. Because you stop asking, "What does every woman want?" and start asking, "What kind of relationship do I want to build?" That's a much better question. Maybe you want a relationship based on loyalty. Maybe emotional intimacy matters most to you. Maybe you value independence. Maybe you want someone adventurous. Maybe you want a peaceful partnership. Whatever your values are, your goal shouldn't be to convince every woman that you're desirable. Your goal should be to become someone whose values and behavior align with the kind of relationship you want. So when people talk about the things women secretly want from a man, the real answer isn't a collection of secret tricks. It's something much more human. Many women want to feel emotionally safe. They want confidence without arrogance. They want clear communication instead of confusing games. They want independence without emotional neglect. They want boundaries without control. They want to feel genuinely seen and heard. They want consistency rather than temporary charm. And they often value a man who can handle conflict, respect individuality, and remain authentic. None of these qualities guarantees attraction. Nothing can guarantee that. A woman can recognize all of these qualities in you and still decide that you're not the right romantic match. And that's okay. Because healthy attraction isn't about convincing someone to choose you. It's about creating the conditions where two compatible people can recognize each other. So if you're trying to become more attractive, don't obsess over lines, tricks, or psychological games. Work on your character. Learn to communicate. Build a life you're proud of. Develop emotional stability. Respect boundaries. Listen deeply. Keep your promises. Take responsibility for your mistakes. And don't abandon yourself just because you want someone else to love you. Because the strongest kind of confidence isn't walking into a room believing every woman should want you. It's walking into a room knowing that you have something real to offer and knowing that the right person doesn't need to be manipulated into seeing it. That's the difference between attraction built on performance and attraction built on authenticity. And when a woman feels that you're not trying to control her, impress her at all costs, or make her dependent on you, she has room to make a genuine choice. That is where healthy attraction becomes meaningful. So perhaps the biggest secret isn't something women secretly want. It's something people often want from one another: to feel safe, respected, understood, desired, and free to be themselves. If you can offer those qualities while maintaining your own self-respect, you're not just becoming more attractive. You're becoming more capable of building a relationship that can actually last. If this perspective helped you understand attraction differently, like the video, subscribe for more relationship psychology and practical advice, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which quality do you think matters most in a healthy relationship?